Good morning, y'all, and welcome to the ISI Iron Sharpens Iron podcast. It's been a little while. I know most of us in the South, we can't handle rain, let alone ice and snow. So this last week it really made us hunker down. So and man, I didn't do a whole lot last week. Dang sure didn't do a podcast. But anyhow, I hope y'all are all doing well. Hopefully all the ice and snow has melted off. I'm looking at some little bit of ice still right here in the parking lot at work, but for the most part, it's all gone. Anyhow, I was listening to a podcast this morning, and as many of you know, my wife and I, we have a foster daughter, and I'm not going to dig too deep into that, but this does have a part of it. But I'm listening to this podcast this morning, and this man that I was listening to, he was talking about Abraham, and well, at the time it would be Abram and Sarai. God had not changed their names yet, but at the point where he did change their names, he promised, he'd made that promise that nations would come from him. And after waiting, however long they waited, finally, Abraham's wife, Sarah, told Abram to, go into her handmaid, Hagar, right here in Genesis 16, said, I can't conceive, so go into my handmaid, and maybe that's the way that God will have me conceive a child. And the point that the guy that I was listening to was making, he said, it's not a bad thing to listen to your wife, but if your wife is saying something that's definitely not up to snuff with the Lord, maybe you don't listen to that. Maybe, and here's the thing. Did Abram really fight his wife on, going into her handmaiden, having sex with her slave? I don't know. This day and age in 2026, he'd probably say no, but back then, who knows? The point I'm trying to make is, it's not normal. It's not biblically normal to do something like that. And that's what I'm getting at. The normalcy that we have made things. And what really sparked with me this morning, when I heard that, it just hit me. And I went back to when I was a younger man. When I was a young man, I'm 41 years old now, going on 42. I'm not an old man by far. My joints and bones make me feel pretty old, but I'm not. Neither here nor there. But when I was a lot younger, and when I called myself a Christian, let me put it like that. When I called myself a Christian, not when I was a Christian, when I called myself a Christian, I would hear these politicians, which I have a big problem with our government as a whole today, because I do not think that they have our best at hand, even though they say they do. But I remember politicians trying to pass bills when I was younger, when I was a young man, and it would be a moral stance. It would be a moral stance that they were they was trying to stand on. And I remember thinking, who are you? They would be trying to stand on some Christian point, some moral Christian point. The law, the legislation that they're trying to pass would be in line with Christianity. And I always thought, who do you think you are to tell people how they should and shouldn't live? Who do you think you are? You call yourself a Christian, but it sounds like, you sound like a horrible, horrible person. And through over the last, let's see, how long have we had her? We have had her now for a year. We've had our foster daughter for a year. And more stuff just keeps coming to light, about her past. And it's just sickening. It's absolutely sickening. Every time we uncover something new, it just makes me sick to my stomach, me and my wife. It just makes us, it sickens us for her. But I think back and I go, how stupid was I? Some of those laws that were trying to be passed, some of that legislation that was trying to be passed was to curb this normalcy, this trying to make things more normal. And I know you're sitting there going, oh, okay, you're talking about the gays. Well, that's one thing. That's one thing. That's never been normal. It's never been a normal thing. And now you can't turn on the TV without, and now, a couple of boys kissing. I can't even turn the TV on, a cartoon half the time on Disney Channel or Nickelodeon or something like that for my kids to watch in fear of them seeing some stuff that they don't need to see. They don't need to see. And why is that? Well, because stuff has been made normalized. Stuff has been just, oh, okay, well, if you say anything, if you say something, you're a bigot, you're a racist, you're an ist, whatever that ist is, there's 10,000 of them now. Or a phobe, which blows my mind, when they say, oh, you're a homophobe. I'm not scared of gay people. Not scared of gay people. Phobe comes from phobia, which means, you're scared. You're in fear of them. We're not scared of gay people. We're not scared of trans people. But it's not normal. But here's one that's even worse. The normalcy of the pedophilia that's going on, that's especially in my state, and not just my state. No, not just my state, my freaking county, Lonoke County. You ought to be ashamed. You daggum ought to be ashamed. From top to bottom, you ought to be ashamed. But it's normalized. It's just a normal thing. And every time those politicians, I look back at myself and I want to kick myself in the face. Because it's this live and let live. Well, live and let live has got us where we're at today. With the normalcy of kids being trafficked. The normalcy of women being trafficked. The normalizing of the pedophilia that's worldwide, obviously. But I'm seeing it right here in my county. Dealing with it right now. Right now. It's not moral. And it dang sure ain't Christian. And for too long now, way too long, especially Christians, we're the worst. The last thing we want is somebody not to like us. Man, I sure hope they don't hate me. I sure hope they don't, try to cancel me on the internet. I sure hope. That hope that we give into as Christians, that hope has got us to where we're at today, this very day, where you normalize all this bull, all of this. It's not normalized here. And it's high time that more Christians stand up and say, no, we're not doing this. We are not doing this. But we're scared. We're scared of being canceled. We're scared of our friends not calling us back. We're scared. The church is scared to preach and stand on the word because, man, those offering plates might get a little lighter. I'm not against tithes. I'm not against offering at all. I understand that churches have to have money to run. I get this, especially now that I'm in ministry. I understand it. But that ain't what God told us to do. That was not what Jesus told us to do. He didn't tell us, hey, make sure you're nice. Make sure everybody likes you. Make sure that offering plate's full. Make sure to go with the ways of the world. None of that's in the Bible. Actually, it explicitly tells us to not be the way of the world. To not go the way of the world. But that's what we've done. Every time we turn a blind eye to something that we know goes against our faith, every single time, we are not in obedience with our God. We are at war with the one we call, our Lord and Savior. Every time we turn a blind eye. Does that mean we need to stand up and beat the crap out of people? Absolutely not. No. There is a time to fight. But not every time is, time to put your dukes up. But if more of us would stand up and stop the normalization of what we know is wrong, maybe we could actually get something done. Like I said, I have no faith in our government. From top Washington, D.C., all the way down to your city governments. And especially my county and my state. And I love Arkansas. I do. Man, I love this place that the Lord blessed me to be born and raised in. I love this state. But the corruption and the normalization of all this makes me sick to my stomach. And I've been dealing with it every day now, face to face with it in the court system. Here, that same court that's in the national news because a man stood up for his family, that same court system is the same one we're dealing with right now that likes to turn a blind eye. The DHS system that loves nothing more than to, oh, I've got a file. Let me get it off my desk. Let me do nothing, zero, and get it off my desk. The system is completely broken. Do I have an answer for it? No, I don't. I'm a dumb redneck from Arkansas. I have no answer for it other than to just tear it down and start over. That's not a good answer, though. But I tell you this, if more people, especially Christians, would stand up for what we know is biblically right, we could make a change. We could make an absolute change. I'm sorry I got worked up today. It's been a rough week so far. But I had to get this off of my chest. I mean, because the gut punch that I got from listening to that pastor this morning, going over that, and then just me going back in my mind going, how dumb were you as a kid, as a young man, as a young adult? How dumb were you to talk down about politicians who were doing exactly what I'm talking about today? How dumb was I? I was pretty daggum dumb. Anyhow, we got to take a stand as Christians. We have to. We have to. All right. Rant is over. Hopefully the next time I get on here, I won't be so amped up. But yeah, that's all I got today. So y'all stay in the word. Y'all stay prayed up. We'll see y'all next time.